Top 3 creepy last words people said right before dying. An old lady told a nurse that she wanted to be strapped down at night in her bed. She said that there was a dark figure trying to grab her and take her out of her room where she would die. The nurse obliged, and for the next few nights she would check on her. Shockingly, when she would check on her, it looked as though someone was trying to pull her from the bed randomly while she slept. One night, when the nurse was off, the old lady's new nurse forgot to strap her down at night. The next morning, nurses found the old lady dead, laying on the floor by the door. Her hand was stretched out past the door and into the hallway. All Nurses blog user Snowfreeze said that prior to becoming a nurse, she was a paramedic. One patient, all the way to the hospital, told her about all the spirits in the ambulance and said that it looks like many people have died in here. Suddenly, she sat up and said, "Oh God," grabbed her chest and died as they pulled up into the ER parking spot, and she was pronounced dead by the ER doctor after doing CPR for 10 minutes. Stan said that he had a friend named Kevin who was dying of cancer. Kevin was warm, funny, and kind. He said that Kevin had zero capacity for flowery talk or mysticism, and this is why his last words really stood out to him and have comforted him for nearly 2 decades. Stan went to visit Kevin at the hospital on what ended up being the final day of his life, and when they were finally alone, Kevin leaned over to him and said, "Stan, there have been angels in my room on and off since just before sunrise." Stan asked him if he thought it was the morphine, and Kevin said, "No, I'm not messing with you, buddy." He said, "I'm not talking about feelings of angels or anything. There are actual angels who keep coming into my room." Stan asked him if they were frightening, and he replied, "No, they're actually making me calm down a bit." He passed later that evening.
For horror videos,
I was forced to stay awake for a whole month. They called it the Russian sleep experiment, but it was a waking nightmare. We were volunteers, they said, but little did we know that our humanity would be the ultimate cost. They deprived us of sleep, leaving us to endure the cruel embrace of insomnia for days that felt like lifetimes. Our minds spun out of control, and our sanity slipped through trembling fingers. But the worst part was the mirror, the one-way glass that allowed them to watch us, to observe the descent into our own personal hells. In their eyes, we were mere lab rats, not people suffering in the throes of delirium and despair. One by one, we succumbed to madness, the terror and exhaustion becoming too much to bear. Our pleas for release were met with cold indifference. In the end, I was the last one left, the hollow echoes of my friends' desperate cries haunting me. I begged for death, and they finally relented. I walked out of that chamber, an empty husk of the person I once was, forever scarred by the horrors of the Russian sleep experiment. It was a fate worse than death, and I pray that the memories of our suffering never escape that accursed room to haunt the world as they still haunt me.
Morbid facts you wish you didn't know. The fused hand joints of Japanese serial killer Tsutomu Miyazaki made it impossible for him to flex his wrists upward, a condition he was born with. In London, there is a diminutive statue entitled Two Mice Eating Cheese, which serves as an unusual memorial for 2 construction workers who lost their lives in 1862 due to a dispute over a sandwich they thought was stolen by one another, but was actually taken by mice, leading to their fatal fall from scaffolding. The film Jaws inadvertently led to widespread shark hunting and a significant decrease in shark populations, a development that its author, Peter Benchley, would come to lament profoundly. With a deeper understanding of shark behavior, he expressed remorse, noting the rarity of sharks attacking humans and the staggering scale of human-caused shark fatalities.
Have you ever heard of a lechuza? In Mexico, lechuzas are witches, or like witches that shapeshift into an owl. Very scary, super scary, and the amount of stories that we've heard about these, even crazier. But today, I have a personal story that happened to me. Dang, I should have made this video with my brother because I don't even think he knows. He was a baby when this happened. I wonder if he knows. Well, if he doesn't, he will know about it now. So my little brother was born when I was 12 years old. By the way, he's not baptized. Till this day, he's not baptized. And why is this even relevant? Well, because a lot of people believe that shit like this, what I'm about to tell you, happens a lot to kids who are not baptized. So, my brother was a baby and his crib was inside my mom's bedroom. And the crib was right next to the freaking window. Don't even ask me why. So, me being 12 at the time, I had just put him down on his crib when I walked back to the living room and my mom was in the kitchen. And he was asleep, like he was knocked out. So that's why I left him there and made sure I quietly exited the room. But as I sat down in the living room, I heard him screaming, crying, like not just like a normal little baby cry. No, he was screaming. So obviously I run because my mom's still in the kitchen. So I run and I open the door. And as I do that, this is what I see in the window next to his crib. It was a lechuza with its wings extended right next to the window where he was at. The way I screamed, because I was caught off guard too. Luckily, I was like brave enough to still grab my little brother and run to the living room. At this point, my mom and my stepdad were like, what the fuck is wrong? Because I just screamed at the top of my lungs, right? And by the way, I looked for a picture that looked exactly like what I saw, which is this. All I remember was the wings extended and a white, like, owl face. So I'm 12, scared, holding my brother, trying to explain to them that when I open the door, there's this lechuza with its wings extended right outside the window. Mind you, this is all happening at nighttime. As soon as I told them what I saw, they left me in the house with my little brother and ran out there. The entire time I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I'm in here by myself and that lechuza like wanted my little brother and I'm here with what they want at 12, holding on to my little brother for dear life, scared as fuck. They came back saying they didn't see anything. And I felt crazy. Like they even made me walk back into the room, show them where it was at. And it was like 2 windows. And when I tell you the wings expanded through those 2 windows, like I knew what I saw. I wasn't crazy. So at that point I was feeling a little crazy because they weren't believing me, but I was like, I swear this is what I saw. And as I'm showing my mom what I saw through the window, my stepdad decides to go outside of the house and stand where I saw this thing. So he has a flashlight with him and he points his flashlight like towards the ground and he finds a little bag full of like grass and weeds and just like, it looks like seasonings, like hierbas, if you know what I'm saying. And because of that thing, they believed me because now they were like, I think someone sent this lechuza to like do something to us. Because what are the odds of like me saying I saw the lechuza right there and right on the ground is a bag of just like probably witchcraft stuff. Anyways, they believed me because of that, and we ended up burning that bag in a cross. Like we didn't touch it, obviously. Do not ever touch something like that, but we did end up burning it in a sign of a cross. And the fact that I still had to go and sleep in my own room after that. Side note, I'm not gonna lie, the only thing that let me go to sleep was the fact that they wanted my little brother and my little brother was far away from me. There's been a lot of crazy stuff that has happened in my mom's house, and at one point my mom even brought a medium to our house. If you want to hear about that time, let me know. But also, if you guys have heard anything about lechuzas, please let me know in the comments or share your story, please. I don't want to feel like I'm crazy. In all realness, this should come and take his ass right now because he's a little motherfucking asshole. Kidding. Do not take my brother. I feel like I have to say that. Don't want to speak it into existence. He still lives in this house, so...
Morbid Facts, Part 141. In 1987, actor Sean Penn spent 60 days in prison for reckless driving and assaulting someone on the set of the film Colors. During his imprisonment, a guard delivered a note to him from fellow inmate serial killer Richard Ramirez. In the note, Ramirez asked for Penn's autograph and said that he should assault the same person again. Penn responded with his own note saying that he hoped that Richard would be executed as soon as possible. And the serial killer didn't write back. In 2017, this Rohingya Muslim man carried his elderly and immobile parents in baskets to escape Burma's death squads. He carried them for over 100 miles in his bare feet before safely reaching Bangladesh 7 days later. Many consider Brazilian serial killer Pedro Rodrigues to be the perfect psychopath because of who he chose to murder. Starting at the age of 14, he's killed over 70 people in total, specifically targeting drug dealers, murderers, and rapists. He spent 42 years in prison before being released in 2018 on good behavior, and now he's a YouTuber.
People are going nuts because of what Snapchat have just done. Now, if you use Snapchat, I can almost guarantee that you do this, and this is going to really annoy you. Somebody messages you, you can't be bothered to open it because then you have to reply. But you want to have a sneak peek before you open it, right? See what they're saying. Well, that's why you would obviously half swipe. Literally everyone does this. I do this all the time. This is something everyone does, right? Not anymore. Not anymore. Snapchat have just brought in this new feature called Peek a Peek, which literally means you can see when your friend half swipes onto a chat. Now if you half swipe, it's worse than if you just left someone unopened because they will get a notification saying someone half swiped you. People have said this has already started to come onto their devices. I haven't seen it yet. Please let me know down in the comments below if you've got it yet. But of course, people are not happy with this and it's driving some people away from Snapchat and to other platforms like Instagram. Don't know why. So as I say, you will no longer be able to half swipe anymore, so get used to just opening your messages and either leave someone on delivered or leave them on read.
Breaking news, 4 police officers who worked for the same county were all found deceased within the last 2 days. All of these officers were either current or former officers of the Los Angeles County Police Department. The first individual was a captain who was found deceased in his home on Monday morning. Hours later, a retired deputy was found deceased in his home in Antelope Valley. Also on Monday in Santa Clarita, a jail official known as a custody assistant was found deceased as well. Then early on Tuesday, detectives were notified that a deputy was found unresponsive in his home and pronounced deceased. This is the 4 different locations that all 4 of the individuals were found at. They said at this time, all 4 of the mentioned cases are being investigated as them taking their own life. However, a cause of death has not yet been established by the medical examiner. The sheriff's office also stated they will not disclose their names out of respect for the families. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
What are they hiding in the missing pages of the Devil's Bible? There is a mysterious 13th century book known as the Codex Gigas. Found in Prague in 1648 during the 30 Years' War, this massive book is the world's largest medieval manuscript, and nobody knows who wrote it. But there is a legend about it. According to the story, a Benedictine monk named Herman the Recluse had been sentenced to death for breaking his monastic vows. In a last-ditch attempt to save his life, he said he would create a book filled with all human knowledge in a single night. Realizing this was an impossible task, Herman called upon the devil himself and struck a deal to scribe the manuscript to win his freedom at the cost of his soul. And its prominent illustration of the devil within its pages earned it the nickname, the Devil's Bible. Now, according to the story, the book was completed in one night, a task that historians say would have taken one person over 20 years to complete. The original book contained 320 pages that included the Latin Bible and various writings on exorcism, medical knowledge, and magic. However, somewhere along the way, 10 pages were ripped out, and to this day, their whereabouts and contents are unknown. Some believe these missing pages contain secret and forbidden knowledge, and that those who wielded it caused things like the Black Plague and other disasters. Even though the Codex Gigas can be seen in a museum in Stockholm, Sweden today, many people are still asking the question,
does anyone remember when they were building a freeway outside of St. Louis and they found over 200 bodies in one spot? And before I even get into it, you know that's what tonight's episode is going to be about. So outside of St. Louis, there's this one area that has all of these strange mounds. There's no hills anywhere else, so people always wondered if they were man-made. But in the 1960s, when they were building a freeway there, they had to cut through these mounds for construction. So they thought they would just cut into them and there would be dirt inside. But that was not the case. One of the mounds had 272 bodies buried inside of it. And they were like, what is going on? Is this from a serial killer? Well, 2 things. First, the bodies were in really bad shape. The skeletons were largely women, and they were all lined up in these rows. And the ones that weren't women, a couple of them had been beheaded. And the second thing is that these bodies were 1,000 years old. It turns out that these mounds were from an ancient civilization that practiced human sacrifice. And this was kind of a big discovery because historians didn't think that indigenous Americans practiced ritual sacrifice until that discovery. But why were they sacrificing people and how were they doing it? Well, if you want to know more about what was happening in the area and you maybe want to know more about human sacrifice in general, you're definitely going to want to check out tonight's episode.
The night was warm as my childhood friend Alex and I stood in my backyard, gazing up at the meteor shower. We'd been inseparable for years, sharing countless secrets and adventures. But this night held something extraordinary in the sky. The meteor shower had started as a dazzling display, with streaks of light racing across the darkness. But then, something strange happened. The meteors began to slow down, defying the laws of physics. I shivered with an uneasy feeling, but Alex, always the more curious of us, was drawn to the phenomenon. "Alex, this isn't right," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Meteors don't just slow down like that. We should go back inside." Alex, his eyes fixed on the mesmerizing sight, hesitated for a moment. Then he turned to me, saying, "I need to see this up close." "I'll be quick. You stay here." Reluctantly, I nodded as Alex ventured into the dark woods where one of the meteors had crashed. His footsteps faded into the night, leaving me alone with the unsettling silence. Minutes dragged on, each second feeling like an eternity as I strained to hear any sign of my friend. When Alex finally emerged from the woods, something was off about him. He knew my name, recognized our friendship, but there was an eerie calmness about him. "You have to come with me," Alex said softly, his eyes never leaving the woods. "You have to see what's out there. It's incredible." Despite my growing unease, I couldn't resist the pull of curiosity and reluctantly agreed to follow him. He led me deeper into the woods, stopping near the crashed meteor. Its eerie glow illuminated a horrifying sight. From the ground surrounding the meteor, grotesque, multi-limbed creatures emerged, their fanged mouths opening and closing with anticipation. Alex watched with a detached calm as the creatures advanced, revealing an unsettling familiarity with the situation. "Alex, what did you do?" I stammered. "We need to get out of here." But Alex was no longer the friend I knew. His voice lacked emotion as he simply watched, his eyes locked on the alien entities. The creatures closed in, and I was gripped by a paralyzing fear. In the dark and eerie woods, a fight ensued, a fight for survival. The grotesque creatures were relentless, their movements filled with horrifying agility. Every moment felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. No saviors came to help. As the fight raged on, I felt my strength waning, my breath ragged. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and I was unsure if I would survive this nightmarish encounter.
You'd think a yoga retreat would be one of the safest places in the world, but Nancy Ng has been missing since October 19th. 29-year-old Nancy had loved this Guatemalan yoga retreat so much that she booked it for the following year, and it was during the second visit that she vanished. The last sighting of her was when she was kayaking on Lake Atalon with other tourists. She and another person broke off from the group and kayaked about a mile into the lake. This is when the witness said that she jumped out of her kayak to swim. Now this is odd to me because, one, if she didn't come back up, wouldn't you immediately get alarmed and alert the authorities nearby? And two, if she didn't come back up, why would she just leave her kayak with somebody and then you would have to kayak yourself along with this extra kayak back to shore? The Guatemalan search and rescue efforts stopped after 72 hours per that country's missing persons protocol. But 95% of this 300-meter deep lake has been searched because the family hired their own search team. 300 meters is definitely deep, and I looked up Lake Atalon online to see if it was safe to swim in, and it said that it was generally safe, but it did point out that towards the middle of the lake, which is where I think Nancy was, waters can get a little choppy. It's possible that Nancy drowned or she could have fallen victim to foul play, and until they find her body, we don't know the answers. The tourists who were last seen with Nancy have returned to America, but the family asks that internet sleuths not broadcast their names. Nancy's case is going viral, which is great, but the family asks that people don't broadcast the names of the tourists. In viral cases, people will often pick a suspect and just pick them apart, and the family's worried that if this happens, the tourists will lawyer up and not talk. The family has a GoFundMe to help with the search if you'd like to donate.
Did you guys see that video of the whale taking out that kite surfer?
Dude.
Did you see there's two angles of it?
No, I saw one.
You saw his, right?
Yeah.
His angle?
Yeah.
Someone was like literally filming from like their hotel room. Look at how far back it is.
Oh wow,
you
yeah.
See him? Watch this.
Having a great time. Hey guys. Man, I really love
Man, I love windsurfing.
Man, this is really fun.
What's the worst that could happen? Oh, whale.
But you know that I did it for like sport, for like a game. That whale.
For sure. Guys, get him. Accurate. I tell you, the kites are filtered in.
Do you think that's what whales sound like?
It is deep down. Hope so. We're gonna find out next year.
Yeah.
A man murdered his neighbors over a dispute about his dog. Guy and Monique Hansman lived with their kids in Port St. Lucie, and they got along fairly well with their neighbor Ron Del Cerro until he got a bull mastiff. This bull mastiff named Roxy was huge and poorly trained. She was allowed to wander the neighborhood without a leash, and one day she attacked the Hansman's dog. Their dog was much smaller, and she got severely injured in this attack. In order to save her own dog's life, Monique had to get involved, and she got several bites as well that required medical attention. A large dog like Roxy can be extremely dangerous if it's untrained, and the family was apparently scared to leave their house if she was outside. And after getting pushback from the Del Cerros about the medical bills, they decided to take them to court. And in June 2020, Monique and her 11-year-old daughter Harper testified about Roxy's behavior. And from this, Roxy was now labeled a dangerous dog. That meant following several sets of rules about muzzling and keeping her in a fence. It also required Ron Del Cerro and his wife to pay $500. And 5 days later, Ron Del Cerro decided to walk over to his neighbor's house with a .32 caliber. Guy Hansman was shot first in the garage. The killer then entered the house and everyone started to run, but Harper and her friend were trapped upstairs. At just 11 years old, Harper was able to call 911 and get them to the residence. And a huge shootout ensued. A neighbor recalled hearing 20 shots at the house as Ron Del Cerro refused to back down. And in the process, he shot and killed Harper. He then decided to end himself as well. Overall, 3 lives were lost over some money and an aggressive dog. And after this, Ron's wife voluntarily euthanized Roxy and then moved out of state.
Tonight we are going to the old cemetery that used to be on the property with the Conjuring House. I'll be with Exploring with Josh, who's currently holding the...
Hey, what's up, guys?
Now, you've been here before. What can we expect?
A lot of things to happen, but the problem is I didn't tell you is that we're not going through the Conjuring House to get to the cemetery, so I don't know how to get there except through the woods, which I actually don't know the right path.
So, guys, it sounds like we have no idea where we're going, and we're being led by Josh, which can be a very dangerous game. So if you see me live, make sure you tap in tonight.
So what we have to expect is maybe elementals could be back there, Native Americans could be back there, even soldiers from the King Philip's War could be back there. We don't know who we're messing with or who we're going to talk to or anything or what we're going to encounter.
So something to note here is that 2 big wars would take place on this land, the King Philip's War as well as the Revolutionary War. So we could come in contact with soldiers or the fact that Native Americans used to own this property. We don't know what to expect tonight, so guys, again, if you see me live, make sure you tap in. But this is part 2 of my Conjuring series. We did the Conjuring House last night, and tonight we're doing the Conjuring Woods.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 249.
This photo, taken in 1904, shows a father staring at the severed hand and foot of his 5-year-old child. That was the punishment given for failing to meet his daily rubber quota in the Belgian Congo. In 2020, a man in Asia was arrested for training his pit bull to drop bricks on people who knock at his door. Said to be a loner, he said he did this so people wouldn't bother him. In 2015, Chief Electrician Jose Opezo was working on an elevator aboard the Ecstasy Carnival cruise. The elevator he was standing atop began to move unexpectedly, horrifically crushing him between the walls of the elevator shaft. Guests reported large amounts of blood flowing down the elevator doors. One man described it as sounding like rushing water. Capgras syndrome is a neurological disorder in which a person believes that their loved ones have been replaced by imposters. This can include family, friends, and even pets, and no amount of reasoning can change their mind.
They're going after people that are just like them. They're going after other homeless people. Some of them ended up actually sleeping in groups where each one would take turns staying up at night on the lookout in case someone showed up and tried to do the same to them. This obviously made the police curious. They didn't know if it was like one person or if it was a bunch of people. The police didn't have much leads on who the suspect was. All they knew is that the man had to have been strong just because of how gruesome and violent the murders were, but also because the bodies were always moved in position in different locations in specific ways. With no real lead, a lot of the homeless people were, drug addicts and stuff like that on Skid Row, so they had no interest in helping cops. So the cops were really on their own. So they actually seek the help of psychiatrists so they can get a little profile of the killer. This is what they ended up coming up with. They said that he was a sadist, and the cop's physical description ended up being that the man was in his 30s, probably a hippie, and ended up on Skid Row due to overuse of drugs like acid and all that stuff in the 70s. And he had long hair and kind of tall. But other than that, they really didn't know anything. They said he probably had daddy issues and was beat as a kid, and the reason he killed middle-aged men was mainly due to the violence that he received from his father growing up, and that he was like a lone wolf, and that he emerged from the shadows to commit his violence, and that he performed the acts on homeless people because he himself identified as worthless, so he wanted to prey on who society deemed as worthless. What hurt the police in this whole investigation was
I don't know who I'm pointing at behind me. I already have an intense fear of owls. You, whoever I'm pointing at. So tag me in a video where an owl's doing something scary. I'm not gonna sleep anymore this week. So if I have to be scared, so do you guys. Let's get into what I just saw. So a creator on here was checking her security cameras outside, and she sees an owl on a post. So she's watching the owl because she's wanting to see it fly away when a car drives by, and it gets scared, so it just sort of jumps down. And this owl, let me just show you what happened. See, there's the owl on the post. I was already scared at this point, but then it jumps down. It already looked weird as it was jumping. Now it looks weird sitting, and then but go watch her video, because she keeps watching the footage assuming it was some glitch and it was gonna reappear. It doesn't come back. What in the timeline mess up, shape shifting nonsense is this? I am so scared. Why are owls so scary? I firmly believe this wouldn't have scared me as bad if it had been a duck. But the fact that it was an owl, goodbye.
How did I get my part in Saw X? The Lionsgate account here on TikTok has been following me since 2020. And at the time, they only followed 7 people, including myself, so they have been watching for a long time the Saw presence that I was helping build on this app specifically. For those of you who might have just found me recently, ever since October of 2020, I have been posting Saw content. I just started as a Saw fan account, and here we are today with 1 million followers, which is amazing. So then, October 27th of 2022, I got a DM from Lionsgate asking if they could call me, which was unusual. I've never talked to them on the phone before, and so I gave them my number, and I remember I got a call about 20 minutes before my shift was supposed to end at my office. I went outside, I took the call, and they just said, "Hey Bailey, we're gonna keep this really short. Do you want to be in Saw X?" I remember crying and saying, yes, of course, I would love to. They said, okay, you're going to be getting all these emails from all these people. They were casting people. They were the producers. There was a bunch of stuff going on. We're handing all the information over to them now, and they're going to get everything sorted. It's going to be happening really fast. And I remember within 2.5 weeks, I was in Mexico City filming, giving Jigsaw his coffee. Here you go, sir. Most iconic line of all time.
My hands are covered in my parents' blood. I am Elsa. As a child, my magic raged out of control, freezing my parents to death. Their icy corpses haunt my nightmares. I pretend sweet Anna is my loving sister, but secretly she is my redemption slave, to atone for my sins. I let her freeze to siphon her life force, increasing my power. I feign helplessness, though my magic obeys my will. Exiling Anna brings me closer to the throne. My ice palace hides a dark truth, dissenters encased forever in glacial tombs. None can resist my hypnotic spells, reducing them to frozen puppets. A monster lurks inside, waiting to emerge. One day my unstable powers will unleash, burying the kingdom in an eternal winter, my screaming subjects locked in icy stasis to rule over. Anna believes my lies, but my betrayals number far more than flakes in a blizzard. I erase her memory with magic, keeping my deceits hidden. If you want to uncover more hidden truths about animated characters, please follow and like my account.
So which power would you rather have? Have all the powers of Superman, but be blind and deaf? Or have all the powers of the Avatar, but have only one arm and one leg?
Avatar me.
Avatar you?
I'm gonna earthbend a prosthetic leg, earthbend a prosthetic arm, and now I'm lit.
I'm picking the Superman one.
First of all, you can't see me coming. Oh, okay, now you can hear me coming. You can't hear me coming.
Okay,
You gonna
but now-
smell me coming?
No.
Smells like kryptonite. Like you are not. There's no shot, bro.
You gotta think about it. If I have Superman's powers, everything in his body is enhanced. Like, you know when you can't see or can't hear, everything else gets enhanced.
So what's it enhanced?
I can feel the vibrations. Toph was able to do that.
Yeah, but she could hear.
Okay, I don't need to hear. I just feel the vibrations.
Throw a stink bomb at you is over, bro. One stink bomb, you're done.
But you look like, as soon as I knock down your leg, you imbalanced.
Every time you throw something, blocking it. You break it, cool. More earth. I back to it, like, then I bring some water into that. Now I got a prosthetic arm. Now I freeze it, it's ice. And now you're really getting cooked. Now I got a blade. I'm really getting crazy over here. You feel me? Like,
Breaking news, a man has been caught filming a child using the restroom at a famous Walt Disney World resort. Authorities were called to the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa in Walt Disney World as a 10-year-old boy told his parents that someone put their phone over the stall while he was using the restroom and took video of him. The child was later able to identify the suspect, and when confronted, he refused to give up his phone. According to the arrest affidavit, they believe that the suspect was deleting the images when he was seen using his phone. When deputies asked to see the recently deleted photos on his phone, that is where they found the photos and videos of the child in the restroom. They confirmed at this time that he had taken the videos from above the stall. The suspect has been charged with third-degree video voyeurism and has since been released from the Orange County Jail on a $5,000 bond. He has also entered a plea of not guilty on October 9th. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Jay-Z is actually a time traveler. Did you see about this?
Oh, I seen the picture. I seen the picture. Yeah.
Wait, no. But there was also other evidence though.
What? Like what?
So look, it's a Simpsons T-shirt.
Yeah.
Where he's sitting on the thing. So 20 years later,
Yeah.
same thing. So everyone's like, oh yeah, people can read. He probably just recreated the photo, which is valid evidence, which I get. But everyone knows about. I think in Harlem there was a picture of Jay-Z, a guy that looked exactly like Jay-Z.
Where? What do you mean?
Does this guy not look like fucking Jay-Z to you?
Yeah, I seen that. That's the picture I seen. Yeah, that literally looks like Jay-Z.
Yeah,
that's in Harlem?
Yeah, Harlem, 1980s. Right? And like it makes sense though, because it's like if you had a chance to go back in time and tell your younger self how to make riches, what did you do it? And look at Jay-Z, he's the richest guy in the world.
You know what's crazy too?
Yeah.
Jay-Z, he became famous, or like he just started rapping in his late 30s, no?
Yeah. It was a late one.
Yeah, in his late 30s. That's kind of crazy.
That's why I'm saying it's like I think if you time travel and he knew already like how to do everything.
That's some Back to the Future shit.